Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me this evening is a phenomenal woman that I had the chance to recently connect with across social media lines. She is a best-selling author, a national speaker, a trauma coach, but most importantly, she's a woman of God, and she's taking time out of a very busy schedule to hang out with us this evening to share a little bit of her journey, a little bit of her story with the hopes of encouraging and inspiring and uplifting others, especially when it comes to dealing with the challenges of life that we all go through in some fashion or form. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our special guest this evening, Dr. Felicia Rashawn. Felicia, thank you so much for being on the
No
show.
problem. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we jump into our segments this evening, I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Kind of give our audience a taste of who is Dr. Felicia Rashawn.
Well, again, thank you. My name is Dr. Felicia Rashawn. I am a mother of four, as my grandsons will call me, a Lily of two. I am originally from South Florida. I've been in the DFW area for, if not 30 years. But Florida is always home. And so I am a trauma coach. I feel like that part of everybody has gone through some type of trauma, whether it's good trauma, bad trauma, but we don't always know how to navigate through it. So I have been blessed with the opportunity to be a trauma expert. Not saying I don't still deal with trauma, but I have mastered how to navigate through it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we definitely could use some insights, some words of wisdom, if you will, from you and what you do. I don't think it's by accident that you're doing what you do,
Yeah.
and just right out the gate, I appreciate you acknowledging the fact that hey, I'm not perfect. I got my own
Hmm.
traumas and things that I've had to deal with in life.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that's a setup, a prelude to
Yeah.
ultimately you walking in the purpose that God has designed for you. So
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna hold you up any or our listeners anymore. We're gonna jump right on into this and find out more about
All
you because
right.
you've already stirring up our curiosity here. So uh, so Dr. Felicia, when I bring people on, and I say this all the time, when I bring people on the show and we're getting to the part of kind of delving into that story, that journey. I always like to take a few moments to reflect back on the beginnings of where it all starts because whether we realize it or not, particularly in our younger years, as far back as childhood, there are certain things that we go through, people that we meet, encounters that we have that in the moment we don't think much of it. It's just us doing life and, in some cases, just being a
Yeah.
kid, just having fun, just going through what we go through, not knowing that it's all strategically and divinely being laid out piece by piece, block by block, so to speak, to where you ultimately are going to land as you become older, as you begin to learn more and
Mhm.
have more experiences. It's pretty much a setup to what were you actually created to be? Why are you
Yes.
even here?
Yes.
And so the light bulbs start to come on as you get the years on you
Yeah.
and the wisdom kicks in. You start, okay, this is why this was necessary.
Yeah.
This is why this took place. So, with that said, if you would take us back to the beginning of your journey and share with us what was it like for you growing up, fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as there's any particular challenges that come to mind. You can share that as well. Kind of give us a backdrop of where your story
Okay.
begins.
Well, I was definitely a grandma's girl. The family would say I was the favorite because I was. She made sure everybody knew I was the favorite. So, I have very, very like deep memories of me and my grandmother. Remember jelly shoes? I know every little girl had a pair of jelly shoes, and I had a little pug belly, so I would have on my jelly shoes and my little shirt with my little belly hanging out, and my grandmother would sit in the front yard and make mud pies with me. And we would do little things. I remember she would, every day she would leave me and my sister would hide in the back seat of her car. And we would try to time to where she was far enough out to where she wouldn't turn around and bring us back. But we missed it every time. It was just, it was our game, and I remember those times. I remember when I was 5, she had a massive stroke. And I couldn't wrap my head around why she couldn't come back outside and play with me. It was like those times were there and then they just stopped. Um, and then I remember Um, I remember between, I'm going to say ages 6 to about 8, I was molested. And those funny times, they kind of turned into anger. I went from happy little girl to tomboy Felicia. I was racing in the street with no shoes on with the fellas. And I camouflaged. Didn't even know that was a thing back then, but I learned to
Hmm.
camouflage my anger because I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand why, as a little girl, I'm now having certain feelings that I couldn't really just open up and talk to anybody about. But it didn't make me feel good. It didn't it I was embarrassed and didn't know why I was embarrassed. So
Mm.
growing up, um I I took to a lot of different things. Like, even as I'm talking about it, I remember, being introduced to fire. I would spray deodorant in my grandmother's sink, and then I would light it. And I didn't understand why, but you know, having those things happen to me and couldn't understand them, I was trying to find an outlet to um I guess to make sense of it. And it took me down a dark path, and I didn't realize it until later on in life. But I remember my grandmother would always ask me, what's wrong, and I'd be like, ain't nothing wrong. I acted out a lot. And it became a when you have, back then, what goes on in your house stays in your house. That was a big thing for my mom's side and my dad's side. And my dad's side, it was me and my sister. So I was the fast, as they said. I was the fast one. And, oh, she's always into something. She's always this. So I was stereotyped instead of watched to say, why has her behaviors changed? Like, what's going on? So I grew up angry. I grew up not being close to people. I pushed people away. But then also it created that sense of, hey, if a boy say he liked me or he loved me, okay. When I was little, I heard that, and this what came next. So I guess when I hear this growing up, these are the same behaviors that's supposed to come next. So I was very confused as a little girl. But my mom worked 3 jobs. I don't think I've ever seen my mom not work 3 jobs growing up. So it was hard to have that, hey mom, there's times I wanted to tell her, but it's like, how do you tell your mom that, hey, somebody's touching me over here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So it was very hard for me to open up and tell people. I didn't tell anybody until I was in my 30s about what happened. So I carried a lot of that trauma with me throughout the years. So I went from happy little girl. Like, my fondest memories is my jelly shoes. When I now jelly shoes are back in. I don't know if y'all know this, but when I go into the little shoe store and I see the jelly shoes, it takes me back to those days in the yard with my grandmother. And those were like my most exciting years of my life was, back then. So yeah.
Wow, wow. Well, again, first off, thank you for your
Mhm.
transparency and sharing that. You know, and then of course, I starting off, I definitely enjoy hearing you speak about the close bond
Mhm.
with your grandmother. Having experienced that myself, having a closeness to your grandmother, I can relate to what that's
Mhm.
like. It's a little bit different experience than the relationship that you have with a mom. It's
Yeah.
just something about when you have that tight bond with
Yeah.
grandmother, with grandma, whatever you call them. I actually call my grandmother by her actual name, that was the thing,
Yeah.
and so hearing you share those
Yeah.
moments, just immediately made me think of some of those past
Yeah.
times of spending with her, and that bond,
Mhm.
and like you said, when they do get of age to where something medical happens to them, and it transforms what they used to be able to do with you
Mhm.
or how they used to respond to you, it does kind of mess
Yeah.
with you. So then you have, I'm hearing you share this first part of your story, and you have somebody who's clearly very fond, you're very fond of, that you care about deeply, going through what they're going through,
Mhm.
and then, following up with that, you have a situation where you're
Mhm.
being dealt with, in this case, by way of molestation, in a way that's inappropriate, and you're too young to really
Mhm.
understand why all of this is
Yeah.
happening and what's up with that, and all these confusing thoughts and feelings and emotions,
Mhm.
and like you said, I'm transitioning from being this sort of happy-go-lucky, enjoying my jelly shoes type girl to I'm angry, I'm pushing people
Yeah.
away. But then at the same time, and this is how tricky trauma can be. It's like there's that part of me that's angry and acting out and pushing away, but then there's also that part of me that's trying to, as you stated, kind of keeping that
Mhm.
mask, that camouflage, because I don't want to let people know that I'm not okay. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's almost like this split
Yeah.
personality that you're operating within, and then to add further injury to it, it's like you would think that if I'm acting in a manner that's completely opposite of what you've been used to, why is nobody
Yeah.
really focusing on the switch in behavior rather than just counting it off as, well, you just cutting up,
Yeah.
you just being
Yeah.
fast, you're just doing this, and so unfortunately when it goes unaddressed,
Mhm.
as I'm sure you've probably spoken of on many occasions, it can literally, something that happened at, in your case, 5 6 years old, you could be well into
Mhm.
adulthood still dealing with
Yes.
that. So numerically you've
Yeah.
aged, but inside you're still
I'm
that
still
five
I'm
six year
still
old
that little
girl
girl.
crying,
Yeah.
frustrated,
Yeah.
angry, like, what's up?
Yeah.
What's up with all of this? And so,
It
um,
was something I left out, but when you mentioned the word mask, um, so when I was in elementary school, I actually went to a performing arts school. I thought that was a normal thing, that everybody
mhm,
just go to a performing arts school. And I never forget my drama teacher. Her name was Miss Rossi. Miss Rossi taught me about the mask. Laugh now,
mhm,
cry later. And she instilled in me that when you are behind the mask, you can be anything you want to be. It's a time for you to, it's a show. So you show people what you want them to see. Being a little girl in elementary school, I didn't realize how that played into my trauma, because then I grew up with masks. I had several layers of
mhm,
mask, and depending on who you was, depending on which mask you got, I would put the cry mask on when I got home behind closed doors, but when I was out in public, which mask am I going to give them? Who are they going to get today? And so I remember her. She was one of those people, like, well into my adulthood. I would still go back to the elementary school just to see if Miss Rossi was still there. When I go home now, I'm in my 40s now, and I'd be like, I wonder, like, Miss Rossi is not still teaching drama, but that's where my security was in fifth grade with Miss Rossi behind the mask. So when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
mhm. Yeah. And it's so crazy because when you think about it, how many, I mean, literally like famous
Uh huh.
people, some of our most creative, most celebrated singers, actors, things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature have similar
Yeah.
stories, where on stage they are the biggest extroverts out there,
Yep.
just connected with everybody, like you said, being wearing the mask of being what they always wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
but behind the scenes, when you get a chance to hear about a documentary or
Yeah.
something that they've told and
Yeah.
they've actually started to open up, and you find out, oh my god, how depressed,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
lonely, how, even just how meek they sound us in having a
Oh
conversation.
yeah.
You like, how does this boisterous voice all of a sudden go so mutant and
Mm-hmm.
so quiet, so
Yep.
subdued? And it's like, it's not because they were that they're trying to be that way. It's like they have some unresolved
Yep.
stuff, but when they're on that stage, when it's time to, when the lights come on, I gotta put on
Yep.
the face, I gotta put on the show, because I can't let people know that I have some
Oh
vulnerabilities and
yeah.
some weaknesses. I don't want to disappoint some. In some cases, I don't want to disappoint certain
Yeah.
people because they rely upon, they look forward to me to being the happy one, the one that brings cheer to the room.
Yeah.
So if I show them that, that I'm going through, then that spoils it for
Yeah.
everybody, and maybe they won't like me anymore. Maybe they won't welcome me anymore.
Yeah.
So all of that kind of stuff just
Mm-hmm.
kind of bottles itself up, and so to our listeners, it's like that's why it's so critical that, regardless of how young you are, no matter what the situation is, it's really important that you do have somebody
Yeah.
in your life that you feel comfortable in being able to be vulnerable and transparent in front of and pour into,
Mhm.
that are not worried about the judgment.
Yeah.
You're not worried
Yeah.
about the ridicule. And taking it deeper, this is why that relationship with Christ becomes so
Oh
significant,
yes.
because when there's nobody in the physical realm
Mm-hmm.
around you, friends, family, whatever, if nobody else is there, he
Oh
always
yes.
is, and you know that he's going to be that perfect person that you can come to,
Yeah.
at knowing that he's not going to look down on me. He's not going to make me feel shame.
Yeah.
He's not going to make me feel like I'm less than
Ooh.
or unworthy because I done been through something that
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable talking to somebody else about, but I can freely talk to
Oh
him,
yeah.
and he's going to comfort me. He's going to come alongside me. He's going to pour into
That's
me
right.
like
That's
nobody else
right.
can. So it's a different
Yeah.
type of thing. So when I think about, as you've shared your story so far, when I think about the fact that here you are, a trauma coach,
Mm-hmm.
you are basically you're mastering this craft of dealing with trauma. You wouldn't be able to be in that role
Had I not.
had you not gone through the
That's
journey
right.
that you've gone through up to the point to be able to speak openly and comfortably to other
Yeah.
people. I wouldn't be able to pour into you if I hadn't gone through
That's
myself.
right.
That's what I'm sure makes you relatable and
Yeah.
connectable to people. Not because you know everything and that you're the most highly decorated, educated person that's ever walked earth, but because
Yes.
you've been there where people hurting
Yes.
people are now. And so again, I can connect with you because you have some sense of
Yeah.
understanding of what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important for people to understand that when they're going through their storms, half the time the storm was never even about you to
Mm-mm.
begin with. God aligned that storm for you to walk
Yeah.
in, not because he didn't like you no more, not because he didn't care about you or
Yeah.
anything like that. He had a bigger picture, a bigger
That's
plan for
right.
your life. He knew when you were that little girl, confused and not understanding all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's going on, acting out and all that. He said, "You don't know this yet, Felicia, but one day
Oh
there's
yeah.
going to be there's going to be a doctor in front of your name, but you're going to be doctoring in a way
Whew.
that you're going to be offering up a pathway of healing to
Yes.
some
Yes,
people.
indeed.
But in order for you to be equipped to do that, I got to take you through some stuff that it's not going to feel
Oh
comfortable.
yeah.
There's going to be some days that you're going to be crying
Mm-hmm.
and feeling some kind of way,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in the end, if you continue to trust me, and I don't know if you paid attention to the title
Mm-hmm.
of our show tonight,
Still
I'm still
trusting
trusting
God.
God. If you continue to trust me in spite of what's going
Yeah.
on, I'm going to reveal to you, and it's going to all make
Yeah.
sense. Just ride this thing out with me, and I'm going to show you how this is all going to manifest
Yeah.
itself to where you're going to see the reason, the
Mm-hmm.
purpose behind it. So, again, I thank you for sharing
Oh yeah.
what you have so far. Just kind of setting the tone, because this is why I like to have this conversation about that
Yeah.
beginning stages, because it all begins to
Oh
connect. It
yes.
all begins to relate. It's not by accident. So with that said, Felicia, again, as we talked about earlier, we have our experiences in our younger years, some
Mm-hmm.
good, some troubling, some challenging. And as we get into adulthood, there's going to be more of
Yeah.
those experiences, more of those encounters and things like that. And the truth of the matter is if you live long enough, you'll eventually run into a situation at some point in time, a storm, if you will, that it's going to hit a little
Yeah.
different. It's going to be a storm that money is not going to get you out of it. It's going to be a storm that there's not going to be a person that you can call on to get that lifeline
Mm-hmm.
from to get out of it. It's just going to be you and this storm, and you're going to feel trapped. You're going to feel helpless. You're going to feel like you're, struggling in a pool of
Mm-hmm.
quicksand, if you will, just trying to navigate and figure out how am I going to get out of
Yeah.
this. This is different. This is heavier. This is much more weightier than anything that I've ever
Mm-hmm.
experienced before. I don't know what to do, but nevertheless, I got to figure out something. I just don't know what that is. So, with that said, tell us about a time that's exactly where you felt like you were. You staring. It didn't seem like there was any way out, no way over it, no way around it. It's just you in this situation. Of course, by the grace of God, I'm certain that what you're going to share, there was a point, there was some light that broke through that allowed you to get through it. But maybe at the time, no, you didn't quite see how that was going to go
Yeah.
down. So if you would walk us through what that experience was like for you, and what was the ultimate turning point where you began to see that light at the end of the tunnel?
Okay. Well, there was multiple events, so I'm gonna try to take you through it real quick and sum it up. Um, so at this point, I am already 4 children in. I am going through a divorce from my first husband, and I'm homeless with 3 of my children. My oldest son was in Texas. I was back in Florida, um, and I'm homeless. No car, nowhere to stay. Mind you, all my family is there, but when you are an adult and you feel as if you're a burden. I'm not, it's not just me being a burden, but now it's me and 3 children. So I'm homeless. I'm on the bus with my children, and I remember my second oldest son, he's looking out the window at the cars. And sometimes as parents, you have to lie. Sometimes I know lying ain't the best thing, but sometimes you have to lie to protect. I'm gonna say that. And I remember my son was looking out the window and he was looking at all the cars driving by, and he realized we had a car at one time, and now we on the bus. So I remember telling my son, I said, people that drive cars are lazy. The bus is the best thing because we have a bus pass and it takes us, I don't know if you're familiar with Florida, but you can take the bus, seems like, from Miami-Dade all the way to Pensacola. The bus goes everywhere. So we would get up in the morning and we would ride the bus to the beach. We would ride the bus to go get food. And then at night, I would call around to different churches, and they would have this thing where you had to be there by 6 p.m., and they would have food and different games and stuff set up, and the kids could eat and have a great time, and they would let them play until they fell asleep. So that way they didn't have to see that we didn't have anywhere to go. All they knew is that
Hmm.
we was at this church, and then when we got up in the morning we was back on the bus. And I remember going through that, and then I transitioned back to Texas. And before I was out of one marriage, I was into another relationship. And I was thinking, okay, God, maybe in this trusting you, that means that I need to like treat this relationship like how you want marriage to be. This man was a cheater. He was just as worse as the first one. But I'm trying to stick God in there because I don't want to be by myself. And
Hmm.
I remember I got married to this man, and in less than 4 months, he walked away. And when I say I was devastated, because I was blaming God. Like, God, I did everything you told me to do, and I don't understand. And I remember going to the doctor, and I was like, I'm just tired. And the doctors gave me some type of depression medication, which for me, the medication actually makes you more depressed. It does not bring you out of it, because then I found myself like in a zombie mode. I would take the kids to school. I was becoming the people, the parents that I'd be like, now why they out here in they robe and out here in the store? And I had become that person because I had no drive, no will. Like it was just, I was a robot. And I remember one day going back home and standing on my patio, and I said, God, I can't get out of this. And I said, I think my kids would be better off with other people. Like maybe I should just end it for me and they would be better off. Because that's what their daddy said. That's what, little comments that were being made. Like my kids had traumatic accidents, like during all these times, and the comments that would come to me, it started to make me doubt that I was even a good mother. Like I wasn't good enough to even parent my children. So I had contemplated suicide a few times. Okay, I got enough pills in here that they gave me. I'm sure if I take enough of them, I just be out the picture. And the kids, they daddies can probably take better care of them. Maybe they aunties. Like I had really started thinking on this, to the point where I had almost attempted it, and it scared me so bad. And the next day I got up and I was like, I was fussing at God as if I was going to God's house to talk to him. I got in the car and I was like, God, me and you need to talk, because I was literally sitting in anger. And I just remember driving, and he led me to a park that's still here in Bedford called the Boys Ranch. And there is a lake in the middle. It's houses and apartments all around the water. But I'm a water baby. I love water. And I was like, I'm coming to this lake, and me and you go, like I'm literally talking to God like I'm going to his house. Like the audacity. I was like, we finna talk. I'm pointing my finger, and just all these things. Like I'm sure I said some curse words in there too, because I was really upset. And I remember walking to the edge of this water, and I was crying and I was mad. I was furious. And I remember when I opened my mouth, all I could do was scream, and not like a horror scream. It was like a scream from my soul. And after, now mind you, when I got there were people walking around the sidewalk. It was, like I said, the lake sits behind people's houses. And when I got done screaming and I opened my eyes, there was not one person out there. Nobody came out on their patio. Like there was nobody looking at me crazy. It was almost as if he had created a force field over the water just so I could scream and get that out. And once I did it, I opened my eyes, I kind of looked around, and he was like, okay, get back in the car and go home. And it was almost like one of those, like, yeah, and we're not gonna have this talk again. Like I didn't know if that's what I was supposed to do, because I didn't understand what had happened. But later down the line, he lets me know that my scream is what freed me.
Mm.
Whatever I wanted to tell God, my scream was conversation enough to where he me and him had an understanding that, okay, now you tired. So now you're going to let me do what I need to do. Felicia,
Mhm.
you keep getting in the way, which is what's bringing you to the water. So go ahead and get all this out, and now let's start over. And that was that day when I say it changed my life, because I had never, I mean, you scream, you stump your toe, you say little stuff, but I had never experienced anything like that. And it was so profound. So I was like, okay, God, I'm driving home, like how I felt going, none of that mattered. It was like clarity, like the light bulb went off. And so,
Mhm.
like going through those things, like I was at rock bottom. I was at the bottom of the hole. And most people say once you're at the bottom, the only way to go is up. And I had reached my bottom, and I was like, God, I need you. Like I can't do this no more. And he was like, okay, let's go.
Mm.
So
Mm. Yeah. Again, thank you for your transparency. I think it's very powerful that you spoke about the scream moment. Like I said, it's different for everybody,
mhm.
but you know, one of the ways that God works with us as we're trying to deal with our storms of life is that, you know, he's wanting to come alongside. He's wanting to give us the insight that we need to navigate our way through it. But as you stated, sometimes we just get in our own
Mhm.
way. We'll pray to God. And my pastor talks about this from time to time about how we'll pray and pray and pray and think that we're doing
Mhm.
something. And we are doing in terms of igniting the
Yeah.
conversation, because that's one, of course, one of the key ways that we can converse with God. But what we oftentimes forget is that in the midst of us praying to God, we don't realize that a part of a conversation means that there has to be some talking and some listening.
Mhm.
And so
We missed the
I'm coming to
listening.
you, God, to to get off my chest all that's going on, and all I need you to do is step in. But then before I allow you to tell me,
Mhm.
I'm then following up by telling you, and this is how you gonna go ahead
Ooh.
and fix this
Yeah.
for me. I'm so how do you go to the one who has the answer, but then at the same in the same breath, you're gonna try to tell him
Yeah.
what that
Yeah.
answer is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't know what you was doing. And so sometimes, my mom used to say that sometimes you just gotta bump that
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
And God will let you bump that head.
Mhm.
He'll okay, you know what? I'm gonna let you, waddle your way through
Mhm.
this. Again, not because he's trying to torture you,
Yeah.
not because he's trying to punish you in any way, but sometimes you have to just let things play out
Yeah.
to you get to that point where you finally just say, I can't do this no
Yeah.
more. And sometimes it's in the words, I can't do this anymore. Sometimes it's in a scream
Mhm.
like you spoke of. And as you said, and this is how you know that it was, that this was of God, because like you said, this wasn't just a I'm just
Yeah.
screaming. This stuck with you.
Yeah.
This was something that resonated with you to the point that you had to scream in a way that only God could allow you
Mhm.
to physically
Mm.
manufactured to. It was almost like the release of all of the hate, a
Yeah.
release of all the
Yeah.
frustration, the release of all the times you kept that mask on trying to hold it
Oh
in.
yes. Oh yes.
You had to let all of
Yeah.
that out. And part of that letting it out is there's even a forgiveness
Mhm.
piece, because I can't ignite the healing process
Yeah.
until I forgive. And a lot of times people confuse forgiveness with condoning the
Mhm.
behavior. And it's not about condoning the behavior, because as we always hear, the forgiveness is for
Mhm.
you.
That's
Because if
right.
you continue to hold inside that unforgiveness, if you continue to
Mm.
hold inside all of the hurt and the pain and the suffering,
Yeah.
thinking that you're doing yourself a service, you actually are doing yourself a
That's right.
disservice, because it's the equivalent of you holding in poison,
Yes.
thinking somehow that that's going to impact somebody
Mhm.
else or in whatever way, but yet you're the one that's hurting
Yeah.
yourself. When all you got to do is just let that out,
Yeah.
and not be shame about letting it
Mhm.
all out.
That's it.
um, you're still a human being. And God understands
Yeah.
that. He understands that there are going to be days when you are going to feel frustrated and cry and want to scream
Yes.
and maybe punch something, kick something, whatever. Have your moment to get it
Yeah.
out. You just don't want to stay stuck
That's right.
in that
That's right.
place. And so you finally decided that I'm tired of being stuck in this place, and you found a place of peace
Mhm.
to go to. And again, don't think it's by accident that here you are in what is otherwise a very open,
Mhm.
public, heavy traffic
Yeah.
place, that under normal circumstances, if I can, I was trying to envision what your scream sounded
Yeah.
like, but if it sounded like any way that you described it, and I'm in a place where people frequent, the natural response would have somebody would have come running, somebody would have stepped out of the house, but then
Look, somebody would have
there
called the
was nobody
cops.
there. Somebody called the cops.
Yeah.
So how does that
Yeah.
happen? But then it's almost like nobody heard it.
Yeah.
And to your point, it was like it was almost, and I think you described it best. It was almost like he put a force field,
Mhm.
a bubble, if you will,
Yeah.
that just said, "I know you're in an open space, but all of this space, I'm
Yeah.
encompassing all of
Yeah.
this
Ooh.
space. So since I'm here with you, I'm pushing everybody,
Yeah.
everything. It's almost like if I gotta have deaf ears on
Yeah.
everybody for just a few
Ooh.
seconds,
Yeah.
just so that you and I can have some private time
Mhm.
where you're not interrupted, where nobody's bothering, nobody's looking at you. Get it
Yeah.
out right
Yeah.
here in the midst of the nature that I created."
Yeah.
And then, and then, like you said, once you got it out, and he said, and
All right.
and this is works. He's not getting ready to give you this long philosophical, um, you know, uh, thesis breakdown,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything like that. He just basically said to you, as you said, and then get in the car and go home.
Girl, nigga, I'm telling you, it
You
was like,
done? Are you ready now? I think you're ready now. Um, you did all this fussing and fighting, pointing your
ah,
fingers, got your
yeah.
y'all swole up,
Yeah.
got your chest all puffed up, like you
Yeah.
you gonna tell me
Mhm.
and let you get it out. Now, are you ready to hear from me. Are you
Yep.
done with all of the getting in my way, getting out your
Mm-hmm.
lane, doing it
That
your
was it.
way? Are you done with all of that? And once you came to that realization that, yeah, okay, I'm done.
I'm done.
I got nothing left. I'm done. I'm listening now. Okay.
Yeah.
Now he was able to speak to you,
Yep.
and
He
so now
did.
the healing begins. Now that
Mm-hmm.
process begins for you to now have your bounce back, for you
Yeah.
to now have your recovery. This is where you truly step back into trusting God and trusting His direction, even if it sounds like something that seems to be off the charts, crazy, doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense, out of the norms. I'm gonna still rock with you, whatever it is that you tell me to do, because I'm trusting you
Yeah.
to guide me through. I got nothing else.
Yep. Got
And,
nothing
and,
else.
and it's not that you're a last alternative. It's just that I realize that
Mm.
all the fixing that I try to do of it, I just can't do it.
Nope.
And,
Couldn't
and
do it.
and and I'm ready to own that.
Yeah.
That I don't have to be superwoman. I don't have to put on my cape to make it right. I'm just gonna let you handle this.
Ah,
And and
yep.
and, and this is where God steps in and He begins to handle it. And as you stated, that's when the change starts to come. That's when things
Yeah.
begin to unfold. And you fast forward to today's date, and this is why you are in the place that you are now. But
Mm-hmm.
we all, that's a part of that journey. And again, for our listeners, this is what you have to understand. That journey process is that, yes, God wants you to come to Him. He wants you to
Mm-hmm.
lay your burdens upon Him, but you gotta get out the way.
Yeah.
You got to get out the way, and you got to be okay with admitting that you have some vulnerabilities, that
Yeah.
this is bothering. Get it off your chest. It's okay. But again, once you do that, be ready to receive what He has to say. If you're coming to
Yeah.
Him, don't come to Him with how you don't come with Him with your plan as to how He's
That's
supposed
right.
to fix it, because chances
Mm-hmm.
are, most more times than not, his
That's not
his
gonna do
game
it.
plan ain't gonna be nothing nowhere near what you thought it was supposed to be. and,
Nothing.
and you might have had this real complex 20-step
I did.
process, and he
I
just
did.
and what he got is like one or two steps. Just do this and do this,
Yep.
and we good. And the funny thing is, when it happens and you reflect back on it later, you almost have to kind of laugh at yourself, like, I was doing all of this, going through
Yep.
all these hoops and changes. I done came up with my whole vision
Mm-hmm.
board plan breakdown, how this was
Mm-hmm.
all gonna go, how I was strategically laid it out,
Yep.
and all it came down to was Felicia, get in the car, gone somewhere, gone home, and wait for further instruction.
And wait for further instruction.
Just go sit down somewhere, and wait for further
That's
instructions. Don't.
exactly how it went.
So yeah,
Oh my
that
God.
that is
Yep.
awesome. That is awesome. But that's God.
Yeah.
That's how He moves in situations like that.
Yeah.
So so Felicia, when you obviously you've shared some very heavy stuff, dealing with molestation, dealing with a series of different traumas from, broken relationships, failed marriages, etc., homelessness, and things of that nature. And yes, storms can be elevated like that,
Mm-hmm.
to those heightened degrees. And then sometimes storms can just be day to day lifing nuances that, just one of them days where something's going on, something's happening
Mm-hmm.
that we got to deal with. So, with that said, if you would share with us, when you do find yourself facing challenging times, again, whether it's something major or if it's just minor day to day type stuff, what is it that you personally like to do in terms of routine, regiment, if you will, that kind of helps you process and dealing with the challenges of life in a healthy and in a productive way, to navigate your way through whatever that situation is that you're facing?
Well, let me say this too. Two things that I had to do. See how you said he give you two things to get you through. The first thing was um he made sure that I understood that for things that I could control, I had to take accountability.
Hmm.
Not saying everything was my fault, but a lot of things I played a part in. And sometimes we play the victim for so long, or we're so used to being the victim that we forget that on these four occasions, Felicia, your attitude was off. You didn't have to have the last word, but you thought you did. And if you had to just shut up, this situation would have been over. But he was like, in the areas that you played a part, I need you to take accountability. I need you to say, you know what? Yes, I did that. Yes, I escalated this. Yes, I played a part in this. Not that, hey, nobody else did. But again, like you said, it's not always about them, it is about my journey. and what's going to get me to the next level. And then the second thing that he had me do, I remember my husband now, that poor baby. I took him through the ringer. I told him I did not want to be married to him. I wouldn't. I When I say he should have just walked away from me, but he didn't. He stuck around and kept pursuing me. So I love him to death. But I remember maybe like year two or three, because it wasn't long after COVID. Um, God told me to go and confront my molester. And I was like, oh, I'm to my knuckles popping. I'm like, let's go. I've been waiting on this. And I didn't tell my husband. He just knew we were going to Florida. And my molester he's connected to my family. And so we had a family reunion and he was there. And I was like, okay, God, like I'm talking under my breath, like in my head, okay, God, so what you want me to say to him? I'm ready. I got about 9 things here I want to say. And God simply said, go and tell him that you forgive him.
Mm.
Listen, when I tell you I wanted to go outside and have a conversation with God, God, I know that ain't what you brought me all the way to Orlando, Florida to tell me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm missing something here. And the one thing that came to me was this forgiveness is not about him. This is about you. And whether you realize it or not, Felicia, you have not fully forgiven him because every time you talk about it, you still mad. You still angry. You going back through the cycle all over again. And so I was like, okay. It took me a minute, but I remember my husband said to me, still, he has no idea what's about to happen. He didn't even know who it was because I had not pointed it out to him. And so I remember sitting at the table. I sat right across from him. And I said, I think I said something along the lines of, um, I just want to tell you I forgive you for all of the things that you did. Um, I don't hold anything. Like I was very sincere. I was like, God, well, out of my mouth, you just gonna have to tell me what to say. Because I didn't know how to just say it to him. And when I told him that I forgive him, mind you, I'm very like quiet. I'm not making a scene. And this man had the audacity. He stood up like at the table to like lean over and he was like, forgive me. Forgive me for what? I ain't did nothing. Like caused the whole scene that I was trying to prevent. Now my husband is like, hey, like what's going on? So I'm like telling him to chill and I'm just sitting there and I'm smiling. And I was like, okay. And I got up and I walked away from the table. And so went outside and my husband was like, can you like explain to me what just happened? I said, that was my molester. And he just kind of looked at me and he said, that's what God had you do in this moment. He already knew. It wasn't a, hey, explain to me what's going on. It was a, you know what? I get it. I understand why you needed to do this. And from that day to this one, I have come to the point to understand that forgiveness, um it helped me to release a lot. It was like that was the key to unlock everything else. It taught me how to forgive. And so now, if we rewind back to the scream at the lake,
Mm-hmm.
years later, I think it was in 2019, I wrote my first book. That's when I became a motivational speaker. And in 2020, God was like, hey, remember that day at the lake? We're going to create a class. And so I was like, I started as time progressed. I'm like, God, I'm really learning that you don't do anything nothing happens by coincidence. So every area that God takes me through, he's like, okay, let's create this because now you're going to have to teach this to somebody else. So I created a scream class, and it is really to help women channel trauma. Sometimes we have to search for it. Trauma be so deep to where we learn how to bury it. You know, they say you bury people 6 feet deep. Trauma is buried way deeper than that. To where
Hmm.
sometimes it takes something to trigger it for you to even remember what you went through. And so now I find myself when I'm going through things, because I'm still learning triggers. It was something that recently happened. My grandson is 2. My oldest grandson is 2, and my mom bought him a drum set. And when I saw his drum set, I was mad, and I was like, "Why am I mad about a drum set?" But I remember my mom bought me a drum set, and I was in my mind. I was like, at that age, I was like, you know what? When I get mad, I'm gonna play the drums. And then I remember one day I woke up and the drum set was gone. Now, to my mom's defense, she was like, "Hey, girl, did nobody want to hear that drum set at 7 a.m. in the morning? You going at it." But to me, I needed that. That was going to be
Hmm.
my outlet. So I didn't even realize that I was still mad about that 42 years later. And so I had to be like, man, like what else is still suppressed that we don't even realize is a trauma trigger. So just learning, walking myself through my own steps of, okay, now what, Felicia, what's happening now? Why is this situation making you mad? Why did that situation make you react like that? And learning when you're reacting, what's causing that. We don't just react a certain way just because. What is causing you to act? What is causing you to shut down? What's causing you not to want to talk about those certain things? And so um even now in the last few weeks, I did a retreat, a women's retreat, and the next day something traumatic happened. And it, when I say it has caused me to have to sit in my feelings. And for the last couple of weeks, every time I feel a certain way, I'm like, we're not dealing with that. So I've been checking out of it. But God is like, even in the feelings that you don't want to feel, sit in them. So like I literally the other night I had to sit in feelings of being vindictive to people, even though I don't act on them. But he was like, get that out of your system. Stop swallowing that and just get it out. And when I got it out, I felt so much better. He was like, so for 2 weeks, you've been suppressing these feelings when all you had to do was just get them out of your system. Because when you don't acknowledge them, you just keep them in. They keep coming back up the
Hmm.
surface. It's almost like when you're trying to throw up, when you're trying to get that out your system and you keep trying to hold it down. It's like, no, that needs to get out. It's toxic. And so I'm learning, still learning to sit in those feelings. Sometimes we want to feel perfect. No, I'm the trauma coach. I ain't supposed to feel these. No, I'm human, as you said. So I still feel things that piss me off. I still react to them. But go home, Felicia, and react to them at home. Get mad at home. I took my son to the same park today and we walked by the water. And I had to speak some things. I ain't scream this time. I'd have scared my grandson off. But I had to speak some things out of my mouth um to free myself of it. And it's a everyday thing, especially when you know you have dealt with things for so long. It doesn't mean that you completely get free from those things. It means, hey, I'm learning how to deal with them when they come about. How do I still function? How do I still make sure I show up not just for my family but for Felicia every day, even though I'm dealing with this? And then, like you said, God don't know, he don't give me the 10 step rule of, hey, this gonna happen and this gonna happen. He said, hey, show up here today, and that's it. It's just like the
Hmm.
breadcrumbs. And I get frustrated sometimes, but I'm like, okay, God, you know what? Let me enjoy this process, because then I'm going to be able to get excited when I'm telling somebody else that I went through this. But this journey, I learned this about myself. I met this person. I was able to do this before I got to this end journey. So he's and people want peace. God just don't give you peace. He gives you things to go through so you can create the peace. If God, I need more faith. Guess what? Then I'm gonna have to go through some things that requires my faith to be increased. It ain't just I wake up and ooh, God, I got great faith. It's like, no, I got to be tried. I got to get in the fire, and I got to be pressurized. I got to go through it, so then I can say, hey, my faith was increased because I went through this. I passed this test. I failed it 3 times, but that fourth time I passed it. So he's taking me through the things that I'm asking for. And in the process, everything now he's saying, write it down. Write down everything. So that's how he's taking me through it. That's
I love that. I love that because everything that you spoke about, I kept as you were sharing this part of your story, I kept going back to the lake.
mhm.
It your turnaround, your comeback, all starts with you getting it out.
Mhm.
So you start with the getting the scream out of you. And then as life is going on years and years later, every time you find yourself going through some stuff, you're saying, God is speaking to you and saying, you need to get that up out of you because it's
Mhm.
toxic. Get that up out of you. Just like that scream got
Yeah.
some toxic out of you.
Yeah.
Get this up out of you. And then
Yeah.
I think it's interesting when you spoke about how um, God says to you, confront your molester. Um, and I use confront loosely because he didn't say go in there and start a fight. He didn't say go in there and
Mhm.
pop off or whatever. So it was like again, I kept going back to the scream moment. The flesh would have said, you go in there and you give him a piece of your mind, you go off, you pop off, you give him everything that you've been wanting to tell him for all these years
Yeah.
about what you think of him. But yet you go into that moment calm, collected, you say, I forgive you. And in return, you got that scream back at you from him,
Mhm.
but it was a scream of denial. It was a scream of
Yeah.
what you talking about, get out of my face
Yeah.
with all of that. But even in that moment, you were okay.
Mhm.
And again, it just took you to it kind of ties into when we talk about killing somebody with kindness.
Mhm.
I forgive you.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. I forgive you.
Yeah.
Everything that you did, I'm not and in that moment, I wasn't looking for your acceptance of what
Mhm.
I said. I wasn't looking for your assessment or your approval of it.
Yeah.
I'm just because I recognize you had matured spiritually to a point where you
Mhm.
understood that this is for me.
Yeah.
This ain't about you, molester. This is for me, for my
Yeah.
healing, for my deliverance, for
Mhm.
my ability to continue moving
Yeah.
forward in the path that God has set for me. And that's why God continues to always remind you that when you have those frustrating moments, yeah, it may not be at the level of dealing with a molester, but
Mhm.
nevertheless, they're frustrating moments. They're things that get on your
Oh
nerves,
yeah.
that tick you off or whatever. And he's
Mhm.
saying, take a moment, get that up
Yeah.
out of you. Not get and get up out of get that up out of you looks different when God is talking about it and versus when the world says get that up out of you, that means pop off,
Yeah.
confront, engage in the drama,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
No, just get this up out of you
Mhm.
and then let me provide you what you need to get through
Yeah.
whatever the situation is. So when you talked about, and this is the last thing, when you talked about peace,
Mhm.
a lot of times people, as you say it, they're praying for peace. They're seeking peace as if it's a if it's something that God just kind of dumps on you, that he
Mhm.
packages in a box and hands it to you. Okay, here's the peace that you asked for. And what people need to understand is that he is the peace.
Yeah.
That the
Ooh.
peace is not so much an object or thing or situation. It's relational.
Yeah.
The peace is a relationship. And
Mhm.
he's the other side of that relationship. So you say you want peace, and this to our listeners, when you say you want peace from all of the crazy and the chaos of the world and all the things that are happening and going on, and you just want that peace, he's the peace.
Yeah.
He's the it's the relationship that you understand what you're asking for,
Mhm.
and part of you asking for that, as you so eloquently stated, is that yeah, there's some stuff you're gonna have to go through. There's some stuff that
Yeah.
he's gonna take you through as part of that relationship, but he's still here.
Yeah.
He's still here. He's gonna
Mm.
he's gonna guide you through, but you're gonna have to weather the storm. You're gonna have to weather the storm. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to do what you said earlier. Learn to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
hold yourself accountable, because this, when we talk about what do I do to deal with challenging times, part of it, as you said, is I gotta own up when, okay, that's on me.
Yeah.
I brought that on,
Yeah.
or I escalated it more than what it needed to be. It
Yeah.
was just this, and I took it here, and now I'm mad at somebody. When in reality, if I calm down and get out my feelings for a moment and really think
Yeah.
about what it took place and be honest, then I would say,
Yeah.
yeah, I probably just kind
Yeah.
of, or God made it real clear, because I mean, because God is very clear in the sense of, if you find yourself going down a wrong path, or into a wrong situation, He gives you a way out.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me that way out, and I can honestly attest, on many occasions I was given a way out,
Mm-hmm.
and I chose to go the other way.
Yep.
And then it didn't play out the way I hoped it would. And then I'm mad. Sometimes mad at him, other times mad at myself, because
Yep. Yep.
I'm being honest and saying that was on you. You had an opening.
Yeah.
You got in the way. You got in your own way,
Yep.
and instead of taking that pathway out where you could have avoided all that drama, all that stress,
Yeah.
all that pain, you did that.
Yeah.
So, don't be mad at nobody else. Don't play, like I said, don't play the victim.
Yeah.
Don't get into that. Own it, but
Mm-hmm.
also don't feel like it's a lifelong punishment. Even if you messed up,
Yeah.
own it, learn from it, and then let's move forward to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that next time, if I find myself in this situation, I navigate it the right way,
Yeah.
based upon His guidance, and that's how I will achieve the peace that I
Yeah.
need to have, to calm the storm.
Yeah.
In those moments. So everything that you spoke of here is critical, particularly for those that are listening, that don't have that regiment, that routine. You talked about journaling. Sometimes you just got to write
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta scream it out. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
just gotta, you gotta make sure that accountability is there. These are
Mm-hmm.
things that, for our listeners to understand, that these are not necessarily things that have to take place the moment that you're in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that you can do ongoing to
Yeah.
prepare yourself.
Oh
So
yeah.
when the situation arises, you're not trying to play catch up. You're
Mm-hmm.
I've already that's the whole concept of putting on that full armor of God each day. Is that I'm preparing myself. I know the battle is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm in the midst of spiritual warfare. It's not a matter of if, but when. But when
Mm-hmm.
it happens, I'm not going to go in just completely unarmed,
Yeah.
completely open and vulnerable. I'm going to come in protected, and I'm going to come in
Protected and ready.
I'm going to
Yep.
come locked and loaded,
Mm-hmm.
but and I'm going to be partnered up with the one that I know that, as long as I'm on his team, it don't matter what you throw at me, I'm going to
That's
be
right.
okay. You
Yeah.
might sway me a little bit. It
Mm-hmm.
might knock me back a few steps, but it's not going to take me out.
That's right.
I'm going to be okay.
That's right.
And I know I'm going to be okay, because as long as I'm still trusting God, it
Mm-hmm.
don't matter how crazy it look.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how insurmountable it appears to be. I'm going to be all right. I may not know how it's going to work,
Oh
but
yeah.
if I got any doubt, if I got any confusion, all I got to do is look back at the last
Mm-hmm.
time, and the
Oh
time
yeah.
before that, and the time for
Mm-hmm.
that, when I trusted Him. Did
Yeah.
it not work out then?
Did it not work out? Yeah.
So then, what makes me think that it's not going to work out now? What's changed? If He hasn't changed, then it don't matter what you throw at me.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a physical, somebody throwing something at me, or if it's something that I can't see.
Yeah.
Because those forces are out there as well. So
Yeah.
good stuff. Good stuff. So
You know, oh,
yes, go ahead.
something I was gonna say to when you were saying that, he always gives me the analogy of a GPS.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I go to Florida, I usually drive. So there are certain areas along the trip that if you miss your turn, it's gonna take you about maybe over 100 and something miles in a different direction. And he always brings back to my remembrance that when you turn on the GPS, once you get to a certain place, the GPS tells you how many miles you have to go before you get to the next stop. And then the GPS doesn't say anything else. And God had to remind me that as long as you're going the right way, I don't have to keep coming in to check in with you. You just let me work and you keep doing what you're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be doing. But the moment you get off track, the GPS pop up and be like rerouting, rerouting. And God is like, a lot of times I'm trying to reroute you to prevent you, But we think we know best, so we keep going. And then we sometimes we run into traffic. It takes us all out of the way, and God is like, okay, you want to keep going. So now I got to allow you to go through all of this unnecessary stuff until I can get you back to the right track.
Mm-hmm.
So I have had to learn the hard way for so many years because I did not listen to him telling me to reroute, to make a U-turn right here and go back so he can get me on the right track. I felt like I knew it better than he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to ride out. I had to go through unnecessary rain and all kind of stuff. And then it's like, God, where you at? He was like, I was here, but you did not want to listen. So as you so elegantly put it, I'm gonna let you bump your head a few times and then we gonna get back on there. So, um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he when you said that, he was like, yeah, that's the GPS. You never, my GPS he's a British guy, so he say what he need to say, and then he go by his business. And the moment I get off track, he pop on rerouting in 200 feet, make a U-turn. It's like, I knew I should have I should have just followed where he told me to go. If we
Mm-hmm.
just follow where the Father tell us to go,
Yep.
we'll get there when we're supposed to get there, but we add unnecessary
And
time to
unnecessary.
our
Trying to take
travel.
shortcuts. Trying. I know another way.
Yep.
Are you the navigator or am I the navigator? Who's the
Right.
GPS? You plug the
Yeah.
information into me to tell you where to go. Then now
Right.
you
To
want
tell
to.
you,
Then you want to be the
that's it.
GPS. Why am I
That's
here
it.
then?
That's it. God, God said, you told me that you gave it to me. Jesus, take the wheel. I'm trying to take the wheel,
I'm
and
trying
you
to take the
keep
wheel. You
trying
keep
to
holding
drive.
on to it. You keep trying to tell me slow down, speed up, go left. Are you driving or am I driving?
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what we do.
Yep.
But yeah, he's. I think that's an excellent analogy, the GPS. So,
Yep.
definitely, definitely. so, so Felicia, when you think back of all the experiences that you've dealt with, good, bad, otherwise, just all the journeys of life and where it's taking you, if you had the opportunity to sit across the table from the younger Felicia, from the Felicia who starts off as this happy, joyful kid, and then deals with some unwarranted trauma at a very young age, and develops trust issues, develops forgiveness issues, and
Hmm.
things of that nature. The confusion, the you know the wearing of the various masks to camouflage, what's going on, and not being able to fully process for yourself or for others, to seek the help to get the assistance that you might have needed to
Hmm.
help you navigate all of this. If you could talk to her and share some insight or some wisdom that you think she would have benefited from, or just taking into consideration that some of our listeners today may have been, you know, uh, experienced the trauma of molestation, may have experienced what it looks like to wear all of these various masks because you're trying to put on these fronts for everybody else, and 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 harming yourself in the process. What would you say to them? What would you say to the younger Felicia if you could speak to her now?
Um, the first thing I would tell her is it is okay not to be okay.
Mm,
It is okay to feel how you feel. Um, I would tell her to speak up. Don't hold anything in. Um, it is so easy to look at everybody else's feelings but your own. Don't blame yourself. Your voice is important. And the moment you open your mouth, your healing starts. The longer you are quiet, um, you are literally dying. Open your mouth and let it out. Doesn't matter who it hurts. It doesn't matter. It's gonna hurt you regardless. But open your mouth. You are safe. You are strong. You are beautiful. You are loved. Because I didn't think any of those things about myself growing up. So just know that there is strength in your voice. Your tears are strength. Your tears is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. The more you release, the stronger you become, the more you're able to move. Um, yeah,
Mm. Well said. Well said. Um, Even to our listeners,
yeah.
please take hold of this, because there's a lot of people struggling and just don't know what first steps to take. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, Felicia's laid that out, very simply, very plain for you to take these affirmations, to make these moves, to find your voice, and and speak it unapologetically,
Mm-hmm.
not worrying about what other people are going to think or how it's going to affect other people, because at some point you have to practice, and I say this often, what my stepdad used to say, you got to practice a little unhealthy, a little healthy, I should say, a little healthy selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
um, don't think that it's a problem to love on yourself,
Yeah.
to value yourself, to for you to matter.
Mm-hmm.
um, Even if you're that person who is normally the one that people come to for the uplifting and the
Mm-hmm.
encouragement and all of that, because the reality is that even the encourager needs to be encouraged
That's
sometimes.
right. Your
um,
cup has to be filled too.
yeah, you got to be filled too. Yours, you can't just be everything for everybody and neglect yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not a crime to love on you. It's not a crime to sometimes tell people no.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a crime to like you said, to show vulnerability, because as
Yeah.
we stated multiple times, you're still a human being. You're not a robot. You're not invincible. You're not, people may see you as being a superhero and being, so capable of just handling it all, and you might do a really good job at it, but everybody has a point. Everybody has
Yeah.
that breaking point, and you don't want to allow yourself to stretch those boundaries so far to where you create unreversible damage to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, mentally, physically,
That's it.
even. There are people who are taking themselves out,
Mm-hmm.
um, and not even by suicide, but just more so just by holding stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah.
All because they don't want to let other people down, or they don't want to ruin this image of what people think they
Mm-hmm.
are. And that's sometimes the danger of the social media platforms, is
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
we're trying to portray this image, this fake make believe image that is not really who we are.
Yeah.
um and we just need to be okay with being like you said, being okay with not being okay,
Mm-hmm.
accepting all of our flaws, all of our imperfections,
Yeah.
and not saying that makes us a bad or person, or less than,
Mm-hmm.
or lacking in value than anybody else, because everybody has something going on, something that's not perfect, but you are perfect in the eyes of God, and that's
That's
what
right.
that's what ultimately matters. If there's any approval that you're seeking, seek His.
See kids.
Seek His. If you got His approval, then all the others really don't matter.
It
I mean,
does not.
it's cool to know that other people find you, or fond of you, or
Yeah.
like you. I mean, it's cool. It's nice to say, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's not ultimately what matters.
Yeah. It
If
is not.
nobody ever does, if nobody ever says it, know that there is one that always
Mm-hmm.
unwaveringly, in an unwavering, unconditional way,
Yeah.
sees great value in you, that considers you
Mm-hmm.
to be royalty.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So when you understand that your value, your worth, how you look at challenges in life, how you view storms in life, how you view other people's opinions of you, it totally transforms in a
Mm-hmm.
whole different way. You just don't. It'll come off. It's not that you don't care, but you don't care.
Yeah.
You don't lose sleep over other people's
That's it.
opinions.
That's it. Someone told me one time, they said, your opinion of me is none of my business. And I don't know where I
Mm,
heard it from, but it is not. It doesn't it
mm-hmm.
is none of my business of what you think of me, because it those are your own thoughts. So,
Right.
when we get out of that space,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Felicia, this has been an awesome conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing your journey, your story, and the fact that you've done so vulnerably, so transparently, so genuine. It has been a blessing to my listeners. It's been a blessing to
Thank you.
me. And I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to connect and for you to just be on this platform to just share
Yes.
as you have, because these are very important conversations for us to have. Trauma is a very real thing, and
Oh
there's a
yeah.
lot of people, men and women, of all backgrounds, all ages, that are just struggling and just don't know
Hmm.
what to do with it. And so, to have someone like yourself, walking in your purpose as God has created you to do, and being a blessing to so many, we don't want to take lightly of the value in that and the importance in that. So, thank you so much for all that you're doing, and again
Thank you.
for gracing us with your presence this evening. But
Thank you.
yes, yes. But as is customary here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, we do want to take the opportunity to celebrate you, to love on you, to lift you up. So if you got anything that's going on or coming up down the road, we want you to tell us all about it, how people can connect, be supportive, or whatever it is to be a part of all that you got happening. So let us know what does Dr. Felicia got going on that we need to be connected with and knowing about.
So I am currently getting ready to post my submissions for my second book anthology. It's called Step in Her Truth, God's Leading Lady, Stepping in Her Confidence. So, if you are someone who may be looking to be an author, who doesn't, really know how to do the process, the book anthology is to provide that platform for women to be heard. How are you in this new season walking in your confidence? So that will be posted here within the next couple of days. I also have Step in Her Truth Women's Retreat that will be next year in September. So we'll be taking slots for that. It will be at a house in Orlando, Florida, and that is basically giving women the safe space to really know what sisterhood is, different workshops to provide to them, but giving them a place to release whatever it is that they're holding on to, learning about forgiveness, learning about what it means to fully just walk in your purpose even after trauma, because some people don't know how to do that. It trauma has defined them, and I want to get women out of that space and show them the beauty in what they have. Every scar is a product of healing. If you healed correctly, the scar is just a testament of that. So allowing women to embrace every scar, embrace, I'm still in a space where people still criticize me for, oh, you got all those tattoos. Every tattoo is a testament of my journey, and I love them, and I want people to see me in my authentic self. So that is what the women's retreat is all about. And then I have a conference that I am in the works of, which will probably be in April. So I will be posting those things on my social media here within the next week or so. But just getting people geared up for next year. My voice is my instrument, and so as long as I have it, I'm gonna tell whatever God tells me to tell to help the next woman who needs it. So
Awesome,
that's what I have.
awesome. So if people want to, I guess, get connected with you,
Mhm.
follow you, or benefit from any of your products or services, what's the best way for them to do so?
Um, I am on I'm on all platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Dr. Felicia Rashawn. Also my website is www.iamdrfeliciawayne.info.
All right, all right. Well, listeners, there you have it. You have a way to connect with her. She's got a lot of interesting projects coming up, books as well. Just doing many beneficial things for, particularly with the emphasis on women. So, ladies, if this is something that you want to be a part of, that you want to experience, please do connect with her. She clearly is passionate about what she's doing here, and again, this is a necessary work that many women could greatly benefit from. So please touch base with her, connect with her accordingly, or at the very minimum, if it's not your thing at this time, keep her lifted in your prayers, and
Thank you.
support and encouragement for what she's doing, because this is not an easy task to take on the weight of the frustrations and the trauma and the things of that nature that so many people are going through it. You have to be cut from a certain cloth to be able to be equipped to just handle all of that, and then
Yeah.
to be able to pour back into people and not make it about you, but creating those safe spaces, creating those opportunities for people to truly feel comfortable in letting that all out and releasing it all, so that the healing process can begin. So we don't take that lightly in any way,
Yeah.
and so definitely please tap in or share with others that you might know, friends or family that could benefit from this, that may not be tuned into the broadcast at this moment. Please let them know. Please let them check it out so they can see firsthand what Dr.
Yeah.
Felicia is all about. So I know that they will not be disappointed, because we weren't disappointed. So again, to my listeners, if you enjoyed our conversation this evening and what we're doing here, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is about: being vulnerable, transparent, sharing our stories, just keeping it raw, keeping it real.
Hmm.
Just letting you know that we all acknowledging the fact that we all going through some type of storm, some type of challenge, and
Yeah.
possibly dealing with some unresolved traumas even. But the reality is that there is a way out, that healing is still possible no matter how long you've
Hmm.
been dealing with it. There is a pathway for you to break free from all of that, for you to get that release that you've been seeking. But it definitely begins with you having the most important relationship, and that is one with God.
Yeah.
Because he loves you unconditionally. He wants nothing but the best for you. He wants you to cast your burdens onto him so he can show you that pathway out, and be not only to show you that way out, but to be an ongoing support mechanism for you. That's what that
Hmm.
relationship is all about. And if you don't currently have that, today is a mighty fine day to make that
Yes, it
decision.
is.
We're not telling you something that we heard. We're telling you something that we know from firsthand experience. He has plenty of love to spread around for everybody. And so
Yeah.
we're not trying to keep it all to ourselves. And he doesn't want to keep it all to himself. He wants that relationship. Get connected now. Don't wait any longer. It's not too late.
Yeah.
So take full advantage of that and just watch God just do miraculous and wonderful things all through your life, and expose
Mhm.
you to the path that you should be on,
Yeah.
walking in your purpose, exercising the gifts that He's designed specifically for you to operate within. So,
Yeah.
with that said, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is a place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and I thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, keep fighting that good fight, keep
Yes.
trusting God. No matter what the circumstances look like, no matter how big the storms may be, if you still trust in Him, let Him guide your steps, guide your path. He will not disappoint. He loves you,
Mhm.
wants nothing but the best for you. He wants to pour an abundance of blessings into you, as well as equip you to be a blessing to so many others. So, with that said, you take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you next time. Take care.